like to have the meeting come to order. If we could all stand and face the flag. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 2014 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Irondequoit. Before we get underway, there's a few things I need to cover administratively. First, in the event of a fire, the fire exit is located to your left. If there's a fire, you'll be notified by an announcement. If notified, move in a calm and orderly fashion to either the north or the south exits. Do not use the elevators. Our meetings are being recorded on video and broadcast, and our secretary, Michelle, is keeping notes for a record. This is not intended as a transcript, but simply for the purpose of having minutes of the meeting. In order to assist her, when you come to the podium, if you would please identify yourself with your name and your address each time that you come there so that Michelle knows who it is that's speaking. We will follow the items as they appear on the agenda. There are extra copies of the agenda on the table by the door into the meeting room. Once the case has been called, the applicant or their representative should come to the podium, identify themselves by their name and address, pause a moment so I can swear you in, and then proceed to explain to us what relief you are seeking. Once the applicant is making his presentation, during the presentation, the members of the board will ask questions or engage them in conversation concerning any aspects of their presentation that they wish. Once that has been concluded, then we will open it up to three categories of public input. The first category is those who wish to speak in favor of the application. The second category is those who wish to speak in opposition to the application. And the third category is a relatively new category, those who wish to speak to the application but aren't sure or aren't taking a position either for or against it. Within each category, we'll take people one at a time. You have one opportunity to speak, and once you've finished that, then you've had your say. And then when all the people in each category are concluded, we'll then give the applicant or their representative a chance to return to the podium, address any issues that were raised during the public input portion, and at that point, we'll close the hearing. As I said, we take the cases in the order that they appear on the agenda. Once we have concluded... Oh, sorry about that. I won't start over. Once we have concluded all of the cases that appear on the agenda, the board will take a brief recess, and following the recess, we will then deliberate on each of the cases in the order that they appear on the agenda and have applicants still present. So if the applicant whose case is first on the agenda has left, we would then take up the second case on the agenda if that applicant were present. Once we have taken the cases in the order of the agenda and applicants that remain, we will then go back to the top of the agenda and take the cases for which the applicants did not remain. Once we have concluded all the deliberations on all the cases, we'll then adjourn. During the deliberation portion of the meeting, there is no further public input. You're welcome to stay and listen to the deliberation if you would like. If you don't wish to remain, and you get home in time, you may be able to catch the deliberation on TV, or you can call in to the Office of Zoning and Planning tomorrow morning after 9 o'clock, and they'll be glad to tell you what the board decided with respect to each of the cases. Having said all that, we're now ready to call our first case.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First item on the agenda is case number ZB 1405-1. Upon the matter of request by Dan Domanicore for a consent of the board per the request of the Commissioner of Public Works to install a second driveway, single car in front yard on premises 66 Wisner Road in an R1 residential district.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name's Dan Domanicore, 66 Wisner Road.
Okay, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure the board has my letter of intent I also have copies here I wanted to pass out. I only have 7. I apologize. I didn't realize the board grew a little bit. Second page, I have signatures from the neighbors that I saw, and also, if you don't mind passing those around for you guys. The third page is a letter from the contractor I'm considering. One of the neighbors brought up an issue about drainage. So he satisfies that need, as most of the water is going to be going right back into my lawn. One other thing I'd like to note on that, the footage is actually different than what was on the permit. It's not 10 by 55, it's 11 by 46. I cut it back 9 feet so the neighbor to the right of me wouldn't see any of that. There's a big tree that's going to block all that view, so I pushed it further back towards the street away from the house.
If I'm understanding your application correctly, essentially what you're asking us to agree to is to give you a parking lane at the side of your house?
A driveway, yes. I currently have a
But it's a driveway that doesn't go to anything.
No, just a driveway to keep the cars off the street. I don't know how familiar you are with Fairleigh and Wisner. It's a very narrow street, no sidewalks. And with a lot of children and senior citizens walking down there and cars are in the road, it's just an accident waiting to happen, somebody get hit. Sunday, I'm not going to pronounce your name, I apologize, stopped over and he sees how narrow the street is with cars in there. Yes, I do have a 2-car garage. I do park in one. I have 2 sons there and my girlfriend. The other side I don't park in because in my house, you have to get through the garage to my basement. And if I parked on the left side and you open the door, I wouldn't be able to open the door to go to the basement. And that's where the laundry room is and everything. It's a really weird setup like that. So I do use the one side, otherwise the cars are going to be in the street. So I'm trying to avoid having cars in the street there. Again, they're narrow, very narrow streets with no sidewalks at all on both streets. Again, I'm a corner lot
I understand, I've seen it. I remember
with the fence.
coming out with the fence, and I went by there again
Yep.
yesterday afternoon. And where your driveway would be is almost directly across from what is a very narrow entry into the Huntington Hills. What is it, south part, middle part,
Yeah, I
whatever
think
it may be.
it's approximately about a good 40 to 50 feet away, at least.
It's almost making an intersection out of that. It would. It's almost right across from it. Because I pulled into that to turn around to look at where your driveway wasn't going to be, and I was right. I assume it's between the 2 yellow posts that you had.
Right.
Right.
That's where it's going to be going straight, just
So I
down
was
to the road.
right there, so-
Right.
And one of the staff concerns is that the fact that it creates kind of an intersection, and also if we allow you to put a driveway at the side of your house that doesn't go to a garage or to anything else, pretty soon are we going to be faced with other people with corner lots who want to do the same thing? And that's a question that we'll have to deal with. But if you
Again-
could address that, because I'm at a loss to understand why you can't park cars on the side of the street. You want to pull them off the street onto your front lawn at the, parallel with the street. I don't see,
You can do that, and I've been doing that, but with such a narrow street, one neighbor, actually, Jan, if she pulls out, backs out, she can hit my car. If I park on Wisner, the people across the street, they back out, they can hit the car. I mean, there's going to be times I'm going to have 2 to 3 cars there because of everybody's schedule. I work nights, so I'm sleeping during the day, and,
if they're pulled off the pavement onto the lawn.
well, I don't
it
want them
should-
on the lawn. I mean,
Well,
that destroys the lawn now, and I'm trying to keep the cars off my lawn. So, I mean, I don't mind the tire, but I don't want them parking the whole car, and that doesn't look good either, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. I don't want an eyesore there either. I mean, I spent a lot of time and money getting this house up to
Well,
where
you
I
know,
like it. And
I'm going to tell you, we have 2 applications tonight with respect to driveways, and we've had other applications with respect to driveways. Some we've had where people have come in after they've already done it and made them wider than what was allowed, and then they're looking for, forgiveness instead of permission. But there seem to be a lot of requests for extra driveways, and I'm concerned about how much paved, yard we're going to have.
Oh, no, it's not going to take, again, I believe he was there yesterday, he saw, I mean, I'm still going to have a lot of the green space, a lot of lawn in the front.
Yeah, I was there too. I looked.
Right, so you saw that. And
Yeah,
again,
and
currently where
I
my...
saw a lane of,
Right.
for parking. How many cars, you're going to back the cars up in the,
Just the 2 cars is my goal for my sons, just to keep their cars off the street. So, and currently where my 2-car garage is, I can't go either way. because obviously my driveway goes down. So if I go to the left, that's my front door, and if I go to the right, it dips down, and the previous owner had a 5,000 gallon drum put in for drainage that I can't take a chance of digging that up.
Well, you said you pull one of the cars into the garage on the right-hand side, right?
Yes.
On the east side?
The west side, that would be. East, thank you.
Okay,
I'm getting
that's
my
what I thought you
directions.
were confusing me there. All right, and then you have a driveway that goes from the road to
Which
the
is
garage door.
Very narrow, you can get one car there. And to get two cars in, you're either hitting each other's doors, or I'm hitting the wall, my paver wall there. It's very, very tight to get two cars side by side in my driveway without hitting each other. I mean, we're talking, literally, you have to squeeze out.
I got a question about that layout there. I'm looking at the drawing, the map, and I'm seeing the shorter driveway right on Fairleigh.
Yes,
You just mentioned a paver wall. I was there the other day, and I guess I didn't notice it. Which, is that on the left?
that's on Fairleigh, that's on in the main driveway. That's where that paver wall is, if you will.
Is it run along this way?
Yeah, it's on both sides, right where the garage doors
Both
are.
sides.
Both sides. She had that all done.
But this is also part of your property too, right?
4 cars.
All the way down?
No, that's actually the town's. That's why I went through with the fence. That 60-foot section is the town's. But where I put the fence up, that's why I had to get the variance to put the fence up there, was they were saying it was a 13-foot right-of-way the town has, and that's why I had to go back. And you'll see bushes on the side there with Fairleigh. That's all the town owns, all that. That's why I said I will still maintain that. Michelle knows, cut it, fertilize it, I'm still maintaining that, but the town owns that. That's why I couldn't come out further with my fence,
That's right, yeah, okay, I see.
so.
Okay, thank you.
And again, I don't want anybody parking on there, because that's gonna chew up the grass if cars start parking. That's where everybody has the tendency, they're gonna think, hey, I'll park over here, and I don't want that. I don't want cars parked, blocking the fence, my bushes, tearing up the lawn.
And
Now,
then-
as you look at the corner from Wisner. You want to put that driveway up, is it going to be to the left of the tree or to the right of the tree?
To the right, going down Wisner, to the right.
Because that tree
like-
takes up a lot of space there on the side of your house.
Yes, the tree, that big tree in the front you're talking in the
Yeah.
corner, it'll be to the right of that. It's gonna be approximately about 6 feet off the property line and at least 15 feet from the house, going towards. That's why I cut it down another 9 feet.
I see.
So yeah, that dimension, it's not 10 by 55, it's 11. I want that extra 1 foot, so when you open the doors, I don't want them stepping on grass. I want them stepping on the pavement instead of the grass, dragging wet grass and,
When I was looking at that, I'm thinking, boy, if this driveway goes to the left of that,
no, yeah,
it'd be pretty close to the neighbor.
no, that's
To the
why.
right of
'cause
it's going to be almost in your front yard. too.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to the right. And also, if you notice, there's a big hedgerow of bushes there, so the neighbors to the right, they won't see any of that. And that's why I moved it back farther, because there's another big tree with bushes, so they won't see any of that.
Have you explored with the town, I know that the right-of-way extends beyond the pavement, but have you talked to the town at all about putting this extra 2 parking spaces for 2 cars in the front of your house on Fairleigh, between where the edge of the pavement is and the front of your house, so they're not in the roadway that's there now, but there's a paved area that isn't around the corner in the middle of your yard, and I would think would be a lot easier for your sons to get into the house, because they could get out of their car and go down the driveway and into the house.
But where would I put the paved area? I mean, the street is so narrow to begin with, without chewing up more of my grass, taking another huge chunk of lawn out.
You'd probably end up taking less grass out than you are at the side, although it would be in the front.
See, I'm trying to keep it in the front because the front of where my front door is, I'm trying to keep that more open, if you will, because it's so narrow. Or the other side, nobody's going to really see it as much with all the bushes there and the trees. So we have talked. I've talked to Donna. I've talked to Michelle. I've talked to Ann. Seems some confusion. You need a variance. You don't. There's nothing in code. So that's why we talked and said, let's just come and go for the variance. Pat, we've talked to Pat, you're the supervisor, and
Mr. Domenico, I question again, what is the reasoning you're not going to the right, facing your garage doors? Why aren't you going to the right?
Well, for one, it slopes down, and for two, the previous owner, because of the drainage, I guess she was getting water in her garage, and I don't know about the basement, but in the garage, she had a drain. She had a drain put in with the 5,000-gallon drum to the right,
But where's the drain? In the driveway?
right smack in the middle.
So
And
the
it
drum
goes-
the drum has got to be below the drain. So
It
it's
goes to
gotta
the
be
right,
deep
right.
enough.
There's a black cap that I have right there that you can take off and you can see it. But
Right.
then the wall would have to be removed. And the other thing that I was concerned about that is if I ever go to sell, it's gonna look really off-center because here's the two-car garage, and then I'm gonna have a driveway another 6, 7 feet to this way. It'll look really off-centered.
Well, but I think it would be more practical than putting a whole nother driveway around the other side. I understand you wanting the cars off the street. I understand. I could see how narrow and tight and everything it all is. But I think as far as the DPW, you know, the concern of the extra driveway on the other street, it would probably make more sense to move your fence over a little bit, move the that little block wall over.
Just had that fence put in.
I understand, but it seems like it would make more sense to go to the right of your garages over as wide as you need,
But that still wouldn't be wide enough for two cars, or long enough for two cars, because I can only do one there now.
Yeah, and I see that, but
So that doesn't, yeah, it helps me for one car, but it doesn't solve the problem. I mean, you're still gonna have cars on the street. That's what I'm, again, trying to avoid.
well, one in the garage and three in the driveway. You know, again,
This is the way that I'm hearing it. We have a resident who wants a parking lot, an extra parking lot in their on their property, because this isn't a driveway, it doesn't go to anything, it's just a parking lot, blacktop, because you have more cars. And to the chairman's point earlier, we're gonna have lots of residents coming to us saying, we have lots of cars, we have kids living with us or parents living with us, and we have lots of cars, can we put an extra driveway or some extra blacktop, a parking lot in our side yard or front yard or something like that? I mean, why, if there are ways to navigate it and widen this or widen that, I mean, what makes your application so unique that you need this?
Well, the biggest thing is the safety concern with the way the people walk and little kids out there, and you have a lot of senior citizens walking down there with dogs that are parking there, and you have these cars parking in the street. They have to go around, and with the traffic coming, they have to stop. You're not gonna fit two cars. If one's coming this way and this way, it's not gonna work.
Does your driveway narrow between the garage doors and the street?
I can fit one car on each side, and it's to the point where you open the
Right.
doors, it's hitting the wall.
No. So how many cars do you have altogether that you need to park on your property?
There's 3, sometimes 4 with my fiance when she moves in, so there's could be up to 4 cars.
All right. And so there would be one car in your garage and 2 in your driveway, one on each side, right?
And then one in the street, which again, I'm trying to avoid. The other thing is, it's a hassle because
yeah.
everybody has different schedules. I
I-
work nights, my son works days.
And I understand that, but here's the problem that I have. Problem that I have is how much of a lot are we going to have people paving because it's convenient for them? And how many, I mean, I went there and I looked and I tried to picture this blacktop parking lane that would butt up to the side of your house from the road. And aesthetically, that didn't look very appealing to me at all. And it seemed to me that if somebody was coming to buy your house, the first thing they would be doing would be ripping that out and replacing it with the grass that's there now.
Well, there's the other issue. There's not a lot of grass there because the deer chew it up, tear it up. I mean,
Whatever, mulch it, the ground cover. I mean, I'm having a real problem with this idea of a parking lane at the side of a corner lot in addition to the driveway.
well, it's not just a parking
Went
lane.
somewhere.
It's going to be, obviously, like I said, blacktop, and then I'm doing pavers, walkway pavers, right around like a back J, so it goes right to the front door. So it's going to look really, really nice. I mean,
I think to me, it's gonna look like a one-lane road to nowhere.
well, Again, my main concern is the safety. That's why I'm just trying, I don't want anybody's car to get hit. I don't want any little kids or people getting hit. And it's gonna happen. And sooner or later, somebody's gonna get hit
Fairley's-
walking around these cars.
Fairleigh and Wisner aren't newly developed roads.
Not at all,
so,
but
I
they're
mean,
very narrow streets.
Is there a history of safety issues in the neighborhood because of cars?
That I don't know.
Well, neither do I. I haven't heard of it. But you're indicating that your concern is safety, but I'm not aware of a safety issue, other than you indicating that there is one. I mean, have you talked to neighbors? Do your neighbors feel it's a safety issue?
The neighbors that I saw, I have about 15 signatures of all the neighbors that support it, for the ones that I saw. On Wisner, on Fairleigh, it's on the second page of the packet that I just passed
Well, when
out.
it gets down to me, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah. And they all support it.
I've got an idea, and I don't know if it's a good one or a bad one, and I'm just throwing it out there. What if there was another driveway right facing your house, to the left of your house, that comes out on Farley Road, instead of it coming out on Wisner? Part of the DPW's concern is it coming out on Wisner. So if you took that driveway and put it up to the left of your, I would assume it's your living room, right?
The front, yes.
Front, okay, to the left of that, and have it come up along the side of the house, one straight lane or even a shorter double lane. Did it there instead of having it on Wisner. I wonder if and again, without talking to the road people, I wonder if they would like that better as opposed to it coming out onto Wisner. Would that be something that you would consider?
So it would
Wouldn't
come
look-
from my living room window to Fairleigh.
It wouldn't look as well, I guess
No, and I
the way you
would-
keep the house, it looks nice no matter what you're going to do. I can tell you're going to make it look nice. The
I-
home is very nice. It looks
You don't
good.
know how much, I just had all new windows put in
You-
Saturday.
I always commend
it
people
never
on how
ends.
nice their house looks. You do a nice job.
Thank you.
So whatever you do, I know it's going to look proper. The problem is they want it to be smart and safe.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think that would look good at all. I mean, then I'm looking out my living room window, at least on the other side, it's not out of anybody's window, it's through my kitchen window. But the neighbor across the street, she was concerned about the drainage and about backing it out, and I said, well, when you back out, these cars will be off the road. So that's why she signed it today. She was, okay, I'm
A
satisfied
couple of
with that.
things that would make it nicer for whoever parks in the driveway. They have a less of a walk to get around to the front door. And again, both driveways face Farley.
Right,
I mean,
yes.
short of adding it to my idea, the best idea would be adding it to the driveway that you have now, just going to the right of it over a lane and moving your fence, moving your break wall. I know that's a lot more work and a lot more of a pain.
A lot more
That,
money.
I think, ideally would be the best way. But this could be another alternative. I just throwing it out there.
And I'll explore that with the contractor, but again, I'm still only looking at one car put in there, not two.
Well, if you went up the full length, you could get two. You could get one right next to the house and one behind it.
To back it up.
Right.
I'd have to take the measurements to see if that would work.
I mean, now, again, we'd have to talk to the road folks, but,
Right.
to see if they would prefer the second driveway there.
And I'm going to come back to it again. What is the problem, because I can't recall what the problem was other than losing some grass, with running it parallel with Fairleigh Road, immediately adjacent to the north of where the pavement ends now, one car width, to park two cars would be like the street was widened in front of your house? What would be the problem
I
with
would
that?
lose, you're saying, a lot more of my frontage by my door. If that's where my
The
driveway
width of a
is.
car. I mean, I think, quite frankly, I think
I also
from
have
looking at your map and recalling the discussion that we had when you had the application concerning the fence, I think a lot of that's part of the town's right-of-way. So if the town decided that there was enough of a safety concern on Fairleigh Drive because of the narrowness of the road, they could come in and pave on both sides extra, and you'd lose the lawn whether you liked it or not. I'm trying to look for, one of the things that we have to take into consideration is whether or not what you're asking for is the minimal amount that's needed to meet the identified need for deviating from what's required, all right? And I'm trying to, instead of having this road to nowhere, which I agree, from your house, it's clear you're going to make it look as nice as you can, but it's still a paved road to nowhere in my book. Immediately adjacent to the paved area in front is a lot less intrusive on your yard, a lot less disruptive to the neighborhood, and if your neighbor backs out and hits your car when it's off the road, then that's a problem that the neighbor has in maneuvering their vehicle. And it gives you access to the house, and even with 4 cars, it seems to me that really your need is, at best, is for 1 car to be in front, or some other place, because you've got the car that can go into the garage and the 2 that can go into the driveway.
Are we, just so I'm on the same page, are we talking that 60-foot section that's currently, that I'm taking care of, the grass, that where my fence is?
No,
Is that
I'm-
something the town, since the town owns it, are you willing to come in and pave that, and I'll park it there?
Well,
I mean, instead of me paying to do it in the front, the town owns
question to you
that
is whether
section.
you've discussed with the town the alternatives that they're, because I know that the town occasionally will, if the circumstances warrant it, will allow people to do things in their portion of the right-of-way next to the street, as long as it doesn't interfere with the plowing operations and things like that. I have no idea
I
whether DPW would say, we could work with you on doing something in our right-of-way that would, accommodate it and not need to have you pave. They might tell you if you want that thing, you're going to have to pave it, but that they'll give you the permission. You're ready to pave part of your yard, so I would assume that if the question was where you're going to pave as opposed to whether you're going to pave, that wouldn't be a problem. But, I think there might be some more options here that need to be explored before, I'd, at least speaking only for myself, before I'd be ready to commit and say, yeah, this is okay.
I mean, I'd be willing to, if the town says, yeah, in that 60-foot section, that would be fine too.
I don't know what they'll say.
Are we talking the spot right to the right of the driveway facing the house?
Yes, where the fence I
Where
put
the
up.
row of bushes are and the fences
Right.
right now?
That's all the towns. I maintain that. I
Or it
cut
could
I
be to the
fertilize
left
it.
of
That's
the
all
driveway
towns.
either.
But why would I put it to the left right in front of my door when I can do it to the right?
Right.
And it's all grass there and it's out of, and it would be between 2 houses, so nobody would back up into it. The cars would be off the road.
It'd be a good spot. Again,
Yeah,
it
'cause it's
probably
grass.
would be worth talking to the DPW first.
Who would that be, Pat then?
Yep, I
Right.
believe.
I mean, again, that's the town's property anyways.
I would, I think that should be checked on before we continue, I would think. It might be a better solution for everybody.
Yeah, I'll definitely give them a call tomorrow.
So let me ask you then, are you agreeable to adjourning your case? We'll still do the public hearing tonight. Are you agreeable to adjourning it a month to come back and talk to the town and see what can be done in there right away?
Yeah, that's fine.
That might eliminate the need to do the driveway at the side?
Yeah, that would, anything that saves me money too,
All right.
I'm good with that.
No, I don't know that it'll save you money.
Right, but at least it would get it off, and that's just dead area anyways, right there. I mean,
Be a good spot.
yeah,
All right.
so I'm fine with that. I'll set something up, tomorrow, I'll call or whatever is
How
available.
long has this been a problem for you?
I've only been there 8 months, so it's been a problem for 8 months.
For 8 months, you've had 3 or 4 cars there.
Pretty much 3 with my sons.
Is that going to be an ongoing situation?
Pretty much.
In that 8 months, you haven't had any cars hit or any real safety issues?
No, but I've been keeping it off the road because obviously in the wintertime, you can't park after 11, between 11 and 9. See, and I work nights, so I don't get home till after 6. Sometimes I don't get home till 1 in the afternoon. So by that time, so now that we're obviously past April 30th, now you can start parking legally on the street.
Okay.
So, because I didn't move in till September.
And I just wanted to put the board that you cannot park on the grass per town code, and you can't park in the right-of-way either, just so that you know. that's a violation.
Right, well,
Unless the town were to agree that he could do that.
But it would be on the grass, and that's a violation. It can't
Not
be
if it
on
was
the grass.
paved.
if it was paved.
If it was paved, correct.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I'm saying, and if it's not an option, then it's not an option we
Doing it now,
can
but-
consider.
And that is an extra long right-of-way that the town owns over there. It's approximately 18 feet.
in
His
width.
fence is right on his lot line.
Yep.
That's where he came in for that variance for the
Right,
fence.
I remember that.
That's a big right-of-way there.
60 feet in length, 60, 65 feet in length.
Yeah, just a little extra.
All right.
That's the other reason why I was going on the other side.
Well, you need about 11 feet off the edge of the road to make it a parkable spot, right?
If I went 11 feet from the road, 3 more feet, I'm hitting the fence. So no, you can't do that. It's only approximately 15 feet from the road to the fence. See, that's the issue I had with the fence. When I brought my survey in, they said it was 18 feet right away and then a 3-foot setback, and
How
I'm like,
wide
that's
is a car?
the third. It's a standard. I got the, Chevy Impala.
I mean, that's about, what, 8 feet wide?
Yeah, but if you go back, like what Michelle said, if you have to go 11 feet from the road in, that gives you 4 feet to put pave. If it's 15 feet, right, it's 18 feet from the road to the fence.
Right.
And if you have to come in 11 feet, then I got those bushes there, unless I rip the bushes out.
No, I'm saying paving from the actual edge of the road.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought you
Yeah.
said come in 11 feet from the
No,
road.
no,
Oh, okay.
From
Feet from the edge of
Yeah,
the
that would
road.
def-
pavement ends, widening the road is what we're talking about.
Okay, that would definitely work.
Right.
You had me worried there.
No, I'm not gonna, we wouldn't have had you approve your fence and then have you rip it out 8 months later.
Oh, that wouldn't be good.
We don't work quite that way. Not generally, anyway. Any other questions or comments from the board?
I'd just like to add that it would be my preference to just deal with the application as it is, and let the applicant, decide later if he wants to pursue another option.
Any other questions or comments? All right, is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application?
Thank you.
Anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? Step right up.
Hi, I'm Janet View, Vieau. I live across the street at 52 Wisner, so my front door faces Dan's front door, and I've been living in my house for about 10 years. And before Dan purchased, Les and Frida Hanna lived in the house that Dan's in now. They owned 2 full-size vans. They parked those vans side by side in the area of driveway that I passed a picture around that you can see, that it goes down into the 2-bay garage. And Frida said that they had to be watchful, but they had no problem. And I observed them, and they were in their 70s, so they weren't real agile and young, and they didn't have any problem opening the driver's door, closing it on either side, either one of them, to get in and out. Furthermore, there were occasions when people could go into the 2 bays of the garage and park cars in those bays. They chose not to, but it was possible, and still access the basement door. So there is potential with that house that someone could have 2 cars in the garage. It's not convenient, it's not ideal, but it's designed that way, plus 2 cars in the driveway. So there is room for 4 cars. Now, what I've observed in the last few weeks is that even when the driveway is totally empty and there's nobody in the garage, someone is parking right at the corner of that driveway, fully in the road, which is right at the end of my driveway. So it's hard for me to make a turn. So I'm concerned that even if we had this parking lot that they're talking about installing over on Wisner Road, that they'll still continue to park right where I pull out of my driveway. I mean, there's no way, I think, to force somebody to be courteous and to park in the right place, but I'm saying that this appears to be somebody saying, it's not convenient for me to have to move cars around and jockey them around, because I've got 4 possible slots for cars, but they're tight, so I don't want to change that. Last summer, before the house went on the market, Frida Hanna had a little trouble with the drain that's in her driveway. And we had professionals come down that were plumbers and asphalt paving people. And at that point, I learned and later told Dan where the location of that drainage system was. So when the paving company was down and everybody, the DPW was there, everybody was talking, a comment was made that the best thing to do with that property, if they owned it, would be that as you face the garage and the 2 bays, somebody ought to knock that brick wall out and just extend the driveway so that they're all in a row, so that it would be like 3-car widths. And it would be a matter of just knocking down that wall. That the buried tank, which is way down below grade, which is about the level of the drain, which is really low, probably, and I can't guarantee it, but probably wouldn't have to be moved or impacted. You'd have to dig it up to see it, but we looked at the outlet from that drain and all the piping when we were there, and it looked like it was possible. In fact, the asphalt paving guy, who is an Arundecoit resident that you probably all know, he said he did it to his property because he wanted to have more space for more cars parking, so they were all parked right next to each other, lined up facing the driveway. And he knocked his wall out, and he said that made room for an extra car, plenty of room for everybody, you got lots of door swing, and that solved the problem. To me, that's cheaper and aesthetically more pleasing and a simpler solution than affecting the character and the ambiance of a neighborhood with Durand Eastman Park as the backdrop with a parking pad that is proposed. And I say, do it in the front. Furthermore, I'm concerned about the precedent in Arundecoit. If we start getting the streets widened to give, extra parking for people or extra driveways on people's land that they want to use for extra vehicles, and the next thing you know, it's for landscape company vehicles or campers or boats or who knows what you're opening up. And I just don't want to see the place covered with pavement and extra vehicles.
You mentioned widening his driveway, like I mentioned to him originally, and moving that block wall over and widening it.
Mm-hmm.
But the last alternative we spoke about was the putting it out by the road to the right of the driveway and just paving that area in front of his hedgerow and in front of his fence. It would be similar as far as an aesthetic look. Would you have a problem with that?
I don't like it, but I would rather that than to see
The other
the
driveway?
alternative of parking it, making, what I call it like a parking pad. It's just that what's proposed is just going to be a place to put a whole lot of cars, and I don't know that they'll always do that. The kids might say it's quicker to just park in the front right by my driveway, and who's going to stop them?
Well,
I don't
So you wouldn't-
like the idea, I don't like the precedent, because I think that there is room for 4 cars now. Now, if the fiancée moves in with her 2 daughters, then we're talking 6 cars. So now we're talking about, okay, we're going to have that parking pad full, plus the front full, plus the street. And I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but what do we do then if grandma moves in and somebody else moves in? People can come in with variances for accommodating everybody, the whole extended family. Dan's not doing that, but I'm concerned about that.
so to answer the question, you wouldn't be opposed if we did that idea.
Yeah, I guess I'd say I would be. I don't
Okay.
like it.
Ideally, you'd like to see the driveway widen to the right.
Right.
Okay.
And I can't give an estimate as far as the cost, but if you were going to talk about the cost of digging out 46 feet of length by 11 feet wide, which will probably ultimately kill that huge mature tree that's right there where he's going to put it in, and you compare the cost of that to the cost of knocking down the wall, going over 10 feet or something like that, I imagine that the cost is not going to be that much more, maybe even the same.
You might be right.
I don't know. I think it's
Okay.
aesthetically more pleasing. We also have, in the neighborhood on Tyndale and Fairleigh, a couple of houses where those people are having problems with parking their vehicles. And I can see this setting a precedent where their driveways, their corner lots, they're going to say, hey, he could do it. Why don't I get some more parking spaces and put another driveway in on the other side, the corner? guess that's it. Does anybody else have any questions?
Okay, is there anyone else here to speak in opposition? Step right up.
I just want to say I like to get along with people. It's very hard to be confrontational, and I'm sorry that it's going to be harder for Dan, but
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Michael Palermo. I live at 45 South Road. The entrance to my road is approximately 20 feet center on from the proposed driveway on the west side of the property. I've wrestled with this for a bit. I think the owner currently has room, and he's demonstrated this before, that he can park 3 cars in the driveway, 2 of them facing north and south, and then the other one facing east and west. Is it convenient to move them? I'm certainly not. But when he bought the property, I think he must have realized that there was 4 parking spots available there, and certainly situations do change. I thought, as I measured the distances, that from Fairleigh to the end of the tree was about 20 feet, or plus or minus a foot, and that's about the length of a good car today. The driveway, it appears, runs pretty much parallel to the back of his home to the tree, which I thought, as I looked at the plan, was on town property. Am I incorrect in that assumption? Is the tree not in the town's right-of-way, or the town's
Might be.
property?
It might be. The large tree you're talking about?
Large
that's on
tree
Wisner?
that sits on the
Wisner side.
Wisner side.
You're asking if that's on town property?
Yes, I think it is.
It could be.
Part of it could be, yes.
Yes. So,
It's that close to the road.
But I don't think he's talking about taking the tree out. think he's
well, I
talking
hope
about
not,
working
without
around.
your permission. The tree is not his to take out, without you saying so. In any case, the tree is about 3 foot wide. If you were backing out of that driveway, you would have about that 3 foot blind spot on a car that would be coming around the corner from Fairleigh down to head north on Wisner. And the distance between the braking and the car there is not very much. The line of sight is quite poor, backing out of the driveway if it were to be on Wisner Road. I also believe that the town has a philosophy that generally says we don't want to have impervious driveways. I mean, if we can avoid putting extra runoff, we'd like not to. I like what the previous person discussed and you mentioned, and that is on the front, on the east side of their driveway, adjacent to the fence, perhaps an area there. But rather than that be paved, there is a product that's available that allows cars to park. It doesn't mush the property down. I can't think of what it's called right away, but it is pervious land. I wish I knew the name of them.
I think you're talking about the blocks like they put in at the church on Carlin Road.
Yes,
In the old school.
yes. I can't remember the technical term for that, but it still looks like grass. It can still be mowed.
Yeah, the grass grows up, but there's a hard surface to support cars.
Right, so it doesn't look as though we've put a lot of pavement in when it's not necessary. I'm concerned about that distance. I'm concerned about the line of sight, which I think is compromised. We would have literally 3 intersections in about 32 feet of roadway. Fairleigh, the driveway, Huntington Hills South. Not to mention the driveway of the person across the street. That's a lot of intersections, a lot of road cuts coming down the way. I just didn't see it as a safe ingress and egress in the driveway if it were to come to fruition. I certainly am not in favor of adding the extra driveway. Again, as I said, situation certainly changed, but when he bought the home, he knew he had approximately 4 to 5 places to park a car. I think he's doing a nice job with the house. That's not the point here. The point here is that the town doing some safe planning, creating a safe situation, and leaving our land so that it is not filled with concrete driveways. Thanks much.
I think I saw someone else wanted to speak in opposition. Step right up.
Hi, I'm Dave Sadowski, 28 Center Road, Huntington Hills. First of all, I think all my points have been pretty well hit. I'll be brief. First of all, Dan, my apologies. My style is to talk to people first and not in a public forum like this, especially when I have some opposition. I'm sorry I missed an opportunity to do that. I think other than first of all, I am in favor of all the alternatives you've discussed this evening. I think my main issue here tonight is the danger of that driveway in that location. You've already discussed alternatives, you've discussed aesthetics, and I've been a resident of that area for about 30 years. And I'm telling you that stretch and that location of the driveway would be a surprise to any driver. It's just not a driveway where you would expect a car. It happens to be in an area that I'm not sure how that's going to be engineered. If the driveway goes up, there's about a 2.5-foot rise there. That's a tough situation if it's going to be cut into the hill. Then anyone parking in that area would be it'd be difficult to see them trying to back out. So my main issue there is aesthetics and the danger of the location, and I think the alternatives are much better than what we're talking about tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Is there anyone that wishes to speak to the application and you're not sure if you're for it or against it or just want to talk about it? Seeing none, then I'll ask the applicant if he wishes to come forward to address any of the points that were raised during the public hearing.
I just want to say the last two gentlemen, valid points, I appreciate that, and I'll definitely, look into that. But as far as parking 2 cars side by side, I welcome any of the board members, bring your cars, pull them right in, and I'll love to see you get out without hitting each other's cars. I don't know how they got 2 vans inside I wasn't there, but again, I welcome any of you guys, bring your cars, pull it in and see. As far as parking on the left side of my garage, you saw yesterday, no way. There's no way. There's also a big table there that I'd have to rip out of the wall with that car coming in. And I have it all nice, painted, carpeted. I'm not going to do that. Simple as that. I'm trying to keep the property up, and as far as that goes. As far as me parking in the street with nobody in my driveway, there's times that when I'm taking a nap before I go into work, that my sons are coming home, and if I park there, then we're all switching around. They're waking me up, and I don't know if you gentlemen ever work 12-hour nights. It's a little rough to get up after an hour's sleep to move cars around. So that's why I park in the street. And to be honest, I'll continue to park in the street if I know they're coming home because they go in the garage. So as far as the alternatives, again, I will look. I'll talk with Michelle tomorrow, see if Pat can come down and see, about that 60-foot section. And I'll even look into that other new thing that you said for the grass.
I first heard about it when there was a church that bought the old Carlin Road School, and they were going to use them on the north side of the property because they wanted to be able to park cars there when they were having events, but have it continue to look like an open grassy field when they weren't.
Yeah, and that's fine. I'll definitely look into that. As far as knocking down that brick, that's not going to happen. That'll look terrible. I'm sorry, because if you notice, you saw it's all brick now. It's nice. It's just that's not going to be a cheap fix to rip out that brick which supports the corner of the house, and that leads into my garage, which is cylinder block. That's a big project, and I don't want to go through that. I'm tired, to be honest, of contractors over my house doing work. It's been nonstop. So, but I will look into the alternatives and go from there. But I just wanted to mention that.
I think those things are called grassy pavers,
Grass pavers,
Grass pavers, okay.
and they live right behind me, and it seems like it's working out real well. That's definitely something to think about, because you don't want to park on the lawn and get it rutted and kill the grass.
Right, I'm trying to
This
keep
is
it
a
looking
very
good.
good idea. I think that's a good thing to look
Yeah,
into.
I'll definitely look into that. So, thank you.
All right, we'll close the hearing with respect to that matter, move on to the second case on our agenda.
Next item on the agenda is case number ZB 1405-2. Upon the matter of request by William and Lauren McGuire for an area variance to install a 6-foot-high aluminum picket fencing in side yard exceeding maximum height allowable on premises 90 Orchard Park Boulevard in an R1 residential district.
Good evening. I'm Lauren McGuire, and I live at 90 Orchard Park Boulevard, and I've been there for about 2.5 years.
If you could raise your right hand?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I asked for a variance in height of the fence in my side yard, because we use the side yard more than we use the rear yard, and I have a corner lot, and we have a ton of deer in my neighborhood, and as much as I like seeing them and photographing them and, just kind of observing their behavior, I'd like to limit their access to my backyard. I'd like to have a vegetable garden, and I have a 2-year-old and one on the way, and I'd like them to not have to, worry about deer poop. Also, we have a new puppy, and she is a giant poodle mix, and I didn't realize how big she's going to get, but I'd like to have a higher fence, just in case she decides to jump. I don't know how high she can jump yet, but when she stands up, she's my height already. She's only 7 months old, so.
You're going to have an aluminum picket fence?
Not with the spikes on top. I mean, just, it's like a flat rail. But yes.
I didn't think you were going to use the top of the fence to hunt the deer.
I've actually seen that happen. It's disgusting.
What I was curious about was if it's a picket-type fence, can your dog get through between the pickets?
No, it's like 4 inches. You can't get a child's head through there, but
Okay.
the deer, or like the squirrels and the rabbits can still come and go.
Well, they find their way through anything.
Yes, and they'll probably eat my garden. I'll deal with the rabbits later. I have since talked to my neighbor. I've gotten a couple of different fence quotes, and now that I've seen some of the fence samples in person, we'd actually like to only do a 5-foot fence instead of a 6-foot fence. So I'm requesting only a 1-foot variance instead of a 2-foot variance.
Will that be enough to keep the deer?
I think in conjunction with the plantings, right now there's a 4-foot hedgerow all around our property. The deer clear that when they choose to. Sometimes they go through it. But I think in conjunction with the width of the bush, a 5-foot fence, and maybe some other large, grasses or lavenders or some other plantings, I think that will help.
Because my only concern would be if you ask for a 5-foot fence, and we grant you a 5-foot fence, and then the deer are clearing the 5 feet.
They may still, it's a possibility. Deer can actually jump up to 8 feet. I did a good amount of research, so deer can go 8 feet. The next step down would be a 6-foot fence with a 2-foot overhang or 2 feet of plantings. I worry that a 6-foot fence would kind of look like a zoo. So I'd like to, try with the 5-foot, and if I have to chase the deer out of my yard, I think that any fence at this point is a good deterrent. But I'd like to, maybe at least try my luck with an extra foot.
I think, I like the sound of this. When I saw your setup there, I think it's definitely a good idea to have a fence there. But my question is, I think you said in something here that the fence will be on the inside of the plantings.
Yes.
That the outside of the property will still have, I think it's forsythia?
Yes,
or others
it is.
on the other side. So you're aesthetically making it look better before it's even built, if you keep it on the inside. Now, is that going to give you enough room? Well, you're not going to be right on the edge.
The forsythia on one side do belong to us, so we're going to be right up against the forsythia on both sides. And the neighbor that I'm asking for the variance for, he did sign a letter for me saying that he approves this plan. But having the forsythia there, that would be the additional deer repellent, if you will.
Now, I never heard of a see-through aluminum fence before.
Oh, I have pictures.
Anybody know what that is?
They're very similar to like a
have an
pool
idea.
fence.
Just a,
You know, and
a wrought
I don't
iron
plan on having a pool, but if I ever had a pool, you can pass that. If I ever had a pool, you need at least a 4.5-foot fence to be legal for a pool fence. So that would cover me too if I or, maybe a future owner wouldn't have to rip out the fence and start over.
we did one on- we did
So
one on
it's,
that.
yeah, we didn't want to do like a privacy wall, especially if I'm trying to encourage the light for plants, maybe. We'll see. I'm not much of a gardener yet, so.
I'm not so sure that even the 6 foot would keep the deer out. Having the dog might be a better,
The dog's a good help so far. 2 rabbits ran by her today and she kind of freaked out. So.
but I do like the design and the style of the fence looks nice.
Thank you. We have wrought iron balconies on our house and like some other trim. So that's why we thought about that versus like vinyl. They're about the same price, so.
We approved a fence very similar to that on Thomas Avenue,
Okay.
about 2/3 of the way probably west of St. Paul to where it turns and then starts heading down the hill
Okay.
on the south side. So if you drove by there, you might see what it looks like when it's installed, and you might even check with him to see how effective that's been
Okay.
in keeping the deer out. I can't recall what height that was, but I think it might be a 6-foot fence.
I figure if they still have use of my front yard and want to eat my front bushes, that maybe they'll just go around.
Path of least resistance.
That's what I'm thinking, but any fence would do that. But the extra variance, I mean, I'm asking for a little bit of extra help.
Yeah, because I know that frequently drive by the fence on Thomas Avenue. It looks very nice, and
Okay.
I know he's got a lot of gardens in the yard there, and that's why he put up the fence. And you might check with him and see how effective that's been with the deer, because they have a lot of deer there.
Thank you.
I have another question, Mr. Chairman, for you, actually. If she changes her request to 5 foot, let's say her needs become 5 foot, and we granted a 6-foot variance, could she not do 6 feet but go 5?
Sure.
Can always go back a little bit, right?
She can always do less than what we approve. She can't do more.
So that's what I'm thinking, well, instead of, since we don't really know the overall effect of this thing, maybe we should think about keeping it at 6 feet and go from there. And if you decide you don't need it, go 5.
Okay. At this point, I'm set up to go 5, but we'll see. I mean, I'm asking,
Okay.
whatever you recommend.
I just wanted to make sure that's okay to do that, yeah. Always back off.
Are there any other questions for me?
I don't think so.
I do have a letter from my neighbor. It's not much. I just had him check a box and sign it. I did not make copies for everyone. Should I just pass this down?
Just pass it down, hand it to Mr. Vignette and pass it down. That'll be fine. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone that wishes to address the application? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a good way of doing it.
We'll
Next item on
conclude
the
the public hearing on that case and move to the next case on the agenda.
Sorry. Next item on the agenda is case number ZB 1405-3. Upon the matter of request by Alexander Kaplan for an area variance to install 6-foot-high side yard fencing exceeding maximum allowable height on premises 15 Plaza Drive in an R1 residential district.
Good evening. My name is Alex Kaplan, and I currently reside at 15 Plaza Drive.
If you could raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
I'm just asking for essentially a 40-foot section on the side of my house and a 20-foot section on the front of my house, just to go from 4 feet to 6 feet, to continue the 6-foot privacy fence that I currently have up.
How long have you been putting that fence up? I've been watching you put it up as I drive by.
I work out of town. I actually drove all the way here from Albany, and otherwise I was working for the past 7 months about 40 minutes south of Plattsburgh. So I come home every weekend, and every week I try to do
40
something.
minutes south of Plattsburgh?
40 minutes south of Plattsburgh.
Wow.
Life out of town is tough, but it affords me the right, or the opportunity to live here in Arundequoit.
What you've done so far looks nice.
Well, thank you.
And I see that your neighbor's backyard abuts to the fence, and your neighbor'd like to have you go the whole 6 feet so that they have privacy in their yard, courtesy of your fence expense.
Correct. Essentially, my neighbor in the back behind me, I've done the most expensive length of fence, so if they're actually looking at putting a picket fence up for their dog and their kid. And then to the side, Bob and Mary Lamangro, they, essentially, they'll have a private backyard now. All they have to do is to do the small sections, and they'll, because of the orientation of their house, because they're a corner lot, essentially their backyard is considered their side yard, but they really use it as their backyard. The sunroom is back there, their garden is back there, so, pretty basic. I mean, I wanted to keep an all-natural look to the fence. I know a lot of people go with the white vinyl or the aluminum. I just, I've lived in the Northwest for a long time. I went with Western Red Cedar. I hope to have it done here in a couple weeks. I mean, I've got all the pickets. I actually, the main reason why it's taken so long for me to do the fence is I had to tear half of it out, because the wood that I put up, that I bought, was almost like barbershop pulling. It was, I think I showed you, it was candy caning and distorting my entire fence. So I had to get all new wood, had to have the manufacturer basically warranty it for me. Had to pull out an entire section of posts. The rest have to come out, but right now the fence is up. I'm happy. It's not distorting anymore, so I can kind of fix things a little here and there. But once everything's up, I won't disturb the neighborhood too much by pulling a post, putting a post in. But the area where I was at, I was looking at it, it was really bad. So I replaced that, and I'm pretty much good to go now. But yeah, all I'm asking for is another 2 feet there on the side and the front, and just asking for consideration is all.
Why do you need the 2 feet on the front? I can understand the side, because your neighbor's backyard is your side yard, but
Yep.
why the front? Because when I
Essentially,
drove up and down your street, I don't see any fences anywhere.
No.
You want to have 6-foot stockade fence that will stand out, and it will be the only one like it that I could see on the street.
maybe it's my OCD.
So why do you need it in the front?
I'm just trying to basically continue the look of the fence. I also have a camper or an RV that I park there on the side, so it will obstruct the view. So if I go with 4 foot, you'll see 2 more feet essentially, and I also have 2 dogs that run around. Part of it's for aesthetic, to keep the line. I'm actually going to put trim on it that goes all the way around. It's going to be stained with that same cedar stain. I think it'll look really nice with the yellow house, and I'm actually planning to kind of do accents, kind of mirroring that around. I'm trying to make as little impact as possible, but I just think it'll look better that way, essentially, instead of dropping it. But if you want me to drop it in the front, I can do it. I just don't think it'll look as nice. So.
What about backing it away from the front foundation? I think part of the reason that they don't like to have a 6-foot fence to the front of the foundation of the house is it looks like one big wall all the way across the lot. And we've run into this before. If you were to back it back 10, 15 feet from the garage corner,
Yep.
so it doesn't come all the way to the front, as opposed to, the alternative of cutting it down to a 4 feet area and have it 6 foot, but have it set back.
Well, if you go to the property right there, kind of towards that front corner, the original, as you see a picket fence there, actually sits about maybe 2 feet back. There's a door that actually accesses my garage right there.
Right.
And I don't know why I decided to go the 2 feet forward. To me, it just seemed to blend in. But I'm not going with a straight fence there, so to speak. There's going to be a man door for my trash cans, and then it's going to be a double drive door so I can bring my camper in and out. I'm also going to be using black wrought iron hinges. So I'm going to try to not just make it look, I don't want it to look military. That's not my intent at all. My intent is basically just to kind of follow the theme all the way through the fence. I definitely don't want it to look, like a wall. I don't want my house to look uninviting. I actually kind of want it to look really nice. And when I envisioned it, that's kind of the way that I saw it. If I'd have brought it 2 feet back, yeah, I could see it. To me, it was just, like I said, it turns into a box and the square, and that's how I built it. I did everything by myself, so.
Well, again, I feel that even 2 feet back's not enough. I think it should be a little further back, or it should be 4 feet.
Well, that door is literally probably about 4 feet from the corner of my house. I mean, like, it's right there. I mean, maybe it's even 3 feet. It's really not that far back from that part.
Then-
I think it's about 4 feet.
Then the fence should
I
be
mean-
behind the door.
Well, essentially what it'll allow me to do is walk in and out of my garage, with, whatever things, my camping gear or whatever else, I mean, without everybody seeing what I'm doing. I mean, that was the whole point of the privacy fence. And to bring it up, and the reason, I don't know how to put this, I grew up in the house, and I inherited the house. I've been taking care of the house. One of the original intents of that kind of original picket fence that was there, the reason why it was so far forward was there actually used to be a shed there. My grandfather would walk straight out of the garage and right to the shed, right there. That is no longer there, but the concrete pad remains. And I do plan on doing something for the camper, as it goes there. But right now, there's actually a concrete pad there where the camper with the shed used to sit, and that's where I put, the front pad of my camper so it doesn't sink into the ground. Not that I couldn't put a block or something, but it's convenient, so. But also, go additionally, my neighbor, he has a little leaf coming off of the side of his house, and it's the corner of his house and the front corner of my house, they're parallel. I mean, they're basically, you can sight down it, and his fence is right there on the edge of his house, like right there on the edge. So if I brought it back, I mean, I think it would look funky. I mean, it's pretty noticeable. I mean, for him to be able to extend his fence, to have his privacy, he'd have to move his fence back and lose essentially whatever little backyard he already has. If that's how he wants it to look, but, yeah, I mean, I'm flexible. I think for me to be able to maximize the space on the side of my house, that's all I was really looking to do.
I just don't like the look of the 6-foot-high fence. It's just
I mean, I could do something decorative on the front, so it's not as blocky. I could do some type of, I don't know, like checkered. I mean, for me to be able to find something in cedar is a little difficult. I could maybe try to do some scallops or something in the front to try to make it look a litlittle nicer. But like I said, I was going to do trim.
You're going to have a gate there. You're going to have a double-wide gate so that you could.
There's going to be three. There's going to be a man door and 2 gates, but they're going to be cedar pickets. It's not going to be metal. I don't want an industrial look. I want a natural look. So, I mean, I'm using poles to support the gate, but essentially it's all going to be cedar picks.
Any other questions or comments? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here to step right up?
My name is Trevor Seeley. I live at 28 Plaza Drive, and diagonally across from Alex. I'm in favor of approving it, of having it approved. That's basically it.
Okay. You live directly across the street from him? You're the second house in from Dale side then, on the north side?
The third house.
Third house, okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Oh, in favor, okay.
Hi, I'm Nancy Gingold. I live on Drake Drive, 104 Drake Drive, and I'm totally in favor. It enhances the neighborhood, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
And I've been there for over 50 years.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of this application?
Hi, I'm Mike Long. I live at 48 Plaza Drive, so I'm 5 houses down from him. And we'll be building a fence because we don't have any fences in our neighborhood. So I kind of wanted to see how this went. I'm actually in favor of it. I've helped Alex put up a couple of the picks, and he's doing a very nice job with it. I'm actually surprised that he used the cedar, but I think it actually makes the neighborhood look a lot nicer, and so I'm very much in favor of the fence. That's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Is there anyone that wishes to address the application? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to that matter and move on to the next case on our agenda.
Next case is case number ZB 1405-4. Upon the matter of request by Jeffrey Paradiso for an area variance to enlarge existing front driveway exceeding maximum allowable percentage on premises 273 Schofield Road in an R1 residential district.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff Paradiso, 273 Schofield Road.
If you could raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
As you can tell from the letter of my intent, I'm wishing to add some parking service to the front of my yard. I realize that Town of Arundequoit allows you 35% for your front yard. I'm seeking to add another 15, which should be right around 50% parking surface. I currently have a single-width driveway, and between my girlfriend and I, there's a total of 5 vehicles right now, and within a matter of a year, with both of our daughters driving, could possibly be 2 more. So I'm seeking to add about 18.5 feet wide by about 18.5 feet long, and then from that taper down to the existing driveway in an effort to get the cars off the street. With both of us working opposite shifts, it's difficult to juggle 5 cars around to get the one in the back you want out. So with the additional parking surface, it allows us, A, to get them off the street, and allow us easier maneuverability of them.
If we were, what would you say to cutting the width instead of 18.5 to, 9.25 feet? So that instead of it being around 50%, it'd be, 42.5%.
So cut it in half of what I'm asking for?
Instead of having it be, you want it to be wide enough to have 2 cars?
Right, at least 2 cars. With 2 cars and then, hopefully be able to get one back. Right now, it's a single width driveway that goes past the house. And it always seems like the one car you want out is the one furthest in the back. We got to pull 3 of them out to get
Your
one
current
out.
single width driveway is 12.5 feet wide.
I believe it's 11.5, but okay.
Okay, well, it looks, okay, 11.5, even
Right.
easier. And you want to add 18.5 additional feet in width? Okay. Would you be agreeable to anything less than 18.5 feet? And if so, how much?
I think if you look at the plan on the tape map, it shows to the driveway going to just the right of the front door, where the step is, I believe it shows. And I think the least I could possibly go was to the left of the front door, which would cut about 7 feet off of it. So it would be, I think, 11.5 feet,
So it'd be wide enough for 1 car, 1 additional car?
hopefully.
Okay.
The other night, my wife and I were driving around town, I think looking at some of these properties, and there was a place, I'm not even sure what street it was, but it wasn't too far from where you are. And they had like 4 or 5 cars parked in front of the house. I remember saying to her, look at that, it looks awful. That's why we have an ordinance about parking in the front lawn of your house. Now, we're talking lawn here.
Right.
And then I go to your house, and I look at this plan, and you want to pave just past the front door,
Correct.
which in my opinion seems to be the majority of the front yard would be paved.
Right.
And aesthetically, I'm very turned off to it because I think it would look horrendous in a neighborhood which is a residential place to have a front yard paved to that extent for, it doesn't matter how many cars. I think what we're hearing is a theme tonight that it's okay to have as many cars as you want, we'll just pave.
Well, I think unfortunately,
I know
most of the houses were built back in like the 40s and 50s, when there was a single car in the household. Unfortunately, today, it's a multi-car household, not only mine, but many of them.
Well, right, and the question was, I think Mr. Polino asked us if we could back that off I'd be more in favor of this application if we could back that off to where you could at least have like a two-width driveway.
Right.
That would be a little more palatable. I think it would look nicer, be in keeping with today's trend,
Right.
and I could probably support that, but I'm having a problem with this much.
So to go from 18 and a half to 11, additional 11 and a half feet on top of the 11 and a half.
Yeah, I
that's
saw
there.
your line of cars in the
Right,
driveway.
and it's difficult. I mean,
Oh, I can see that. And I know, I used to have a situation similar, but just by widening the driveway, in the front of the house enough so we could get a second row of cars in there.
Right.
Seemed to be reasonable. That was my thought, and I
I appreciate that.
have a little flexibility on this one, I hope.
Understandable. Thing is, I'm trying to, take care of it now so that a year down the road, when I have additional 2 other drivers, that I don't have to come back and ask for, trying to keep them out of the street, think, it's an inconvenience. All the driveways are, none of them are in line. So when my neighbor backs out of his driveway, he's eventually, essentially backing up into where I would park in front of my house. The driveways aren't lined up. They're all offset by a driveway. So if I park in front of my house in the street, when the neighbor backs out, he could, not that he has or will, but it's an inconvenience to park in front of his driveway. So I'm trying to keep him off the road.
I think a point has to be made here, too, and this may or may not be apropos, but when we approve a variance for changes in the property, that stays with the property forever.
Right.
It's not till the daughters leave.
No, I understand that. But I'm saying that
it's there.
once they start driving, there's additional vehicles that are going to be an even bigger inconvenience.
So our dilemma is we have to wrestle with temporary versus permanent. What's the best thing here?
Well, I don't understand what you mean as far as temporary permanent. When I put it down, it's permanent. But
Yeah.
that's why I'd asked for the
That's what I'm
18 and a
saying,
half.
if-
Right, I understand that. That's why I'd asked for the 18 and a half feet now, so that there's enough for multiple vehicles. If I'm only allowed 11 and a half, then that's all I'm allowed to do. But that's why I'd asked for 18 and a half now, so that a year down the road, I don't come back and
I
ask
believe
for.
I believe Mr. Thomas' point is that your problem, when you move out of the house,
Right.
all that driveway is not going to be needed. The
I
need
don't know,
for the
I-
driveway right now is temporary to your situation. It's not a condition of the property to need all of that driving. But either way,
I disagree with that. I mean, you see in today's day and age, every family has 3 or 4 people driving a vehicle, correct? Right?
How many cars do you have in the family right now?
I currently have 5. I have 3, my girlfriend has 2. On top of that, I have a landscape trailer that I keep stored off the property because I have no room for it.
So you have 2 drivers and 5 cars?
Correct.
I mean, your driveway itself, could hold about 4 cars.
Right.
So,
But unfortunately, we work opposite shifts. I work third shift.
well, I
go in at 10:30
understand
at
that,
night.
but
So
that's,
if I park my car in the driveway and she has to get out, I have to wake up, like the other gentleman. I have to wake up, move my car out, put it in the street so she can get out.
well, I run into that problem every now and then too.
I run it every night. It's
But
7 days a week. It's
Other
not,
people can back your car out of the driveway. I mean,
unfortunately, she doesn't know how to drive a 5-speed, and that's what I
Well,
have.
again,
I'm not asking for driver's lessons. I'm asking,
no, I
the
know,
driveway.
but again, the driveway does hold 4 cars,
directly in a
and
row,
plus you have a garage.
with the
you know,
vehicle in the garage currently.
So there's your 5 cars altogether. To do this much paving in the front
Well, like I said,
is gonna look,
I would accept 11 and a half feet as opposed to the 18 and a half.
I'd be opposed at 11 and a half feet. I mean, I might give you a couple of feet off to the one side of the driveway so you could go buy a car. You could go, sneak it by, give you 15 feet wide or, total. But I wouldn't give you that much
Well,
pavement.
a
You're
normal
gonna
car
ruin
is,
your
a normal
front-
car is about 8. I think a normal parking space is 9 feet wide,
It's gonna
correct?
ruin the look of the front of the house. I mean, the front
There's
of
no
the
grass growing in front of the house now as it is. It's not
Because
gonna
you're
make
driving
it.
that's because you're driving.
No, because the grass doesn't grow there. I've tried for 6 years. I can't get grass to grow there.
But there are other alternatives besides pavement where you can't grow grass. You can put down mulch, you can,
Tried that.
there's other
Anyways,
things you
that-
can put
Right, I'm
down.
not here about growing grass.
No, I'm not here about growing grass either. I'm concerned, we have 2 applications on tonight. of
Right.
People that want to pave yards.
Correct.
And I have a real problem with, and the code is what supports the problem, is that the code does not favor paved yards. It favors some kind of landscaping or other thing with driveways that lead to garages. and that accommodate a reasonable number of cars.
Right,
You've got 5 cars for 2 drivers.
correct.
I think there's got to be some alternative that you can work out other than paving half of your front yard to accommodate 2 more cars that might come down the pike.
As I said, I would.
Because you'll
I would
have
agree
4
to-
drivers.
I would agree to 11 and a half feet in addition to the 11 and a half feet there.
All right.
It's considerably less front, footage.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Would you be adverse to less than 11 and a half feet?
As I was about to say, a normal parking space is, I believe, 9 feet wide, correct?
You got 12,
No,
according to
I'm-
the map,
right.
according to your map, you got 12,
I have
a little over 12 feet.
From what I see
in
is
a lot.
11 and a half.
Okay, so 11 and a half. So if a
Right.
normal car is 9 feet
Right,
and you double 9 feet, you would be
18.
going 18.
right,
So that you'd be another 7 feet from the corner of your house towards your front door.
correct. So if I went for a total of 18 feet wide?
No, I'm saying,
No, I'm sorry, from the existing driveway.
no, I'm saying 7 more feet from the existing driveway, not 18
Right,
feet.
I'm saying from the existing driveway,
Yep,
from what you would appear as the left-hand side of the driveway, for a
Yep.
total of 18 feet wide. Correct?
Including the existing
Right,
driveway.
including the 11 and a half that's there, an
A
additional 6
standard
and a half.
2
Right, 2
car
cars wide,
driveway.
right. And then how far down? The full width of the driveway or the 18 feet that it shows on the map?
well, the 18 feet, and then you gotta taper it, because you can.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Does it have to taper, or can I go straight down to the sidewalk at the full width?
Could go straight down to the sidewalk at the full width.
Right, but then you have a
garage.
problem with spreading you have to get permission from the town to make
I believe
the
that's only
apron.
if I don't plan on cutting the apron. I plan on
Okay.
using the existing apron, a single car wide. And that's what I was asking,
All right, so if
Is
you
it a
went
full
7,
18?
if you went 7 feet from the existing driveway,
correct,
all the way down to the sidewalk.
correct.
Are there any trees that are between the sidewalk and the road where if you were to go straight down the full 2 car width?
There's a tree there, it wouldn't impact the driveway, however, there's a concrete, like, not a drywall, but access for Monroe County Water is directly adjacent to my apron. So I don't want to impact that. Like I said, I want to keep the apron the same, not do any change in the apron, just make it a single wide, and then either go straight up the full 18 feet, or maybe taper a couple feet at a 45 to the 18 feet.
I think it would look better if you
Okay.
tapered it at the end, but.
I believe so too, but I just want to make sure that I have the ability,
Yeah, I just have a problem with paving half of the yard.
I'm not a big fan of it either, but unfortunately, when I bought the house, I wasn't prepared to have, 4 or 5 people driving at a time. I bought the house sight unseen, so,
Darn kids.
I know.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone here that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Is there anyone here that wishes to address the application? Then we will close the public hearing with respect to this matter. We have 2 other cases on our agenda, but I believe we've already done the public hearings for both of those, so I don't believe there's anything further that we need to address with respect to those applications now. So we will take a 10-minute recess. 66 Wisner Road present? Apparently not. The applicant for 90 Orchard Park, yes, okay. 15 Plaza Drive, I see him here. And Schofield Road, they're here. And is anyone here from either the St. Joseph's Church or, well, you're not here for St. Joseph's? No, you're here for Sonic. So Sonic is here. Okay, all right. The first rule of the OCD Club is that there has to be a second rule, so there's an even number. And in keeping with the thing that we take them in the order they appear on our agenda, unfortunately, whoever put the agenda, knowing the rule, put you last on the agenda. But because there's 3 people who aren't here ahead of you, you're going to come in as third instead of 6th. But I don't think we'll keep you too much longer. All right. With respect to the application for 90 Orchard Park Boulevard, this is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make an application with respect, or a motion with respect to this application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we approve this application for the variance regarding the fence with the following findings. First of all, that fence will complement the neighborhood, not distract from it, so there'd be no change to the character of the neighborhood. There is no alternative that she can come up with this plan, but particularly with regard to the type of problems that she's trying to solve. This fence would pretty much do it. And by the way, my motion is to approve the 6-foot height.
I understood that.
Understanding that she could back off a little if she wants.
And I think I'm pretty sure that the code says that if you haven't exercised the variance within a year, that then the variance expires. So if she only uses 5 feet, I think within a year that would revert to 5 feet, and even if we granted 6, would that be right? Would be, okay, so.
Good.
We're keeping her options open for her, even if she's not yet.
I don't believe the request is overly substantial. I think it's very reasonable. There will be no physical or environmental conditions affected by this variance. As far as being self-created is concerned, yes and no. She certainly didn't create the situation with the deer, wildlife in the area. That was already there. But the existing foliage and so forth is just not doing the job. So from that standpoint, I guess you would say it's self-created, but not a reason to deny.
I'll second the motion.
Pardon me?
Yes.
Any discussion?
Oh, I didn't know I was done. Okay.
Well, I thought you were. Isn't that the last factor? Yeah, self-created was the last factor, I think.
Okay, Mr. Hammond, thank you for moving things
You're
along.
welcome. Guess we shortened that one up.
Yep. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Vote carries 7 members in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. We're all present. Next item on the agenda is the application with respect to 15 Plaza Drive. This is also a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anybody wish to make a motion with respect to this application? I'll make a motion then that we approve the variance as requested with respect to the factors to be considered. The installation of the fence for the distance that's requested will not create a change to the character of the neighborhood, although it may appear that the fence will create somewhat of a wall. The neighbors, several neighbors came out and spoke indicating that they were in favor of that, and The homeowner is doing a very nice job installing a high-quality fence that his immediate neighbors are going to take advantage of in gaining some privacy in what otherwise is a totally exposed lot. The alternatives that wouldn't require a variance would be a 4-foot fence, which would defeat the neighbor's concern for privacy, would also defeat the privacy concern. And given the substantial portion of the yard that is going to have the 6-foot fence, the 2-foot variance for the minimal amount, given the circumstances, would not be as effective. It's not a substantial request. It's not going to have any adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions, and it's not a self-created situation to the extent that there was no fence there before and he wants a fence, but certainly not to the extent that would be a factor to deny the variance. Does anyone wish to second that motion?
Second.
I'd just like to make a comment that I believe the fence should be set back away from the front corner of the garage. I don't think it'll look nice when it's done, even though he might do a nice job with it, and he might put a nice looking fence there. I think it deters when you put a 6-foot fence to the front corner of the house. I think that's why the town has that rule, that law. And again, I'm not going to be in favor of it.
And I agree. I'm not a fan of 6-foot-high stockade fence parallel with the front of the house. I think it looks like
I think
Well,
it
what
was
does
set
what
back.
does the code say? Is it up to the rear foundation of the house?
6 foot is allowed to the rear foundation.
Without a variance?
Right.
And if you go beyond that, then you get the variance.
Yes.
He just wants to go all the way with that, so.
The other
it's not the
advantage,
6 feet. It's not the 6 feet that's parallel. That's against the neighbor's yard. I mean, the 6 feet up to against the neighbor's backyard is not the issue for me. The issue is the 6-foot piece that runs parallel to the front of the house.
the gates.
The gates, the double wide gate and the extra door, 6 feet tall.
Again, I just think it's not a good look. I mean,
And it's especially on the street where you don't see any fences anywhere.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
So I believe we have 3 votes opposed and 4 votes in favor, is that correct?
Right.
All right, so let me just check this to be sure. Mr. Hammond, Mr. Polino, and Mr. LaPerry have voted no, and myself, Mr. Intini, and Mr. Thomas and Mr. Vignette have voted yes. So the motion carries 4 votes in favor, 3 opposed, no abstentions, and we all continue to be present. The next item is the application with respect to 273 Schofield Road. This is also, I believe, a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make an application or a motion with respect to this application?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to, again, adjust the amount of the, and I don't know what the percentage would be, but adjust the amount of pavement in the front of the house to go 7 feet maximum from the east corner of the house toward the center of the house. So basically from the existing driveway, 7 feet over, which will give the gentleman approximately 18-foot wide driveway to the sidewalk. He can go straight back or he can taper it as he pleases. But to limit, cut back quite a bit from his variance. He wanted 18 feet, I think 7 feet would do him justice.
So that would be a standard with 2-car garage,
It
or
would be a
2-car
standard
driveway.
2-car driveway. It's going to stop at the front corner of the house. It is changing the characteristic of the neighborhood. That's why I'm limiting the amount of pavement. The alternative solution is to pave more. The alternative solution, in my opinion, is just to move cars in and out as needed. However, I'm giving him a little bit of what he wants, trying to be a little bit understanding. I believe the variance is somewhat substantial because it is adjusting it probably, just basing this here, I bet you it's probably adding 8% of pavement to the whole front of the front yard. So I believe it is substantial. The adverse effect, I don't believe is going to have any physical adverse effect on the environment. It does change the character of the neighborhood somewhat, and it is a self-created problem because he's got so many cars. But I think to make an adjustment on the variance, I would approve that.
I would second it with the requirement that it is tapered at the bottom, that it doesn't run all the way straight, but it is tapered to align itself with the current curb cut where the driveway is.
I'm okay with that. Again, he could taper it however he sees fit, as long as it looks nice. I think that's what you're asking for. to look nice.
So the motion, as I have it recorded on our sheet, would be to grant the variance with conditions. The conditions being that no more than 7 feet can be paved from the northeast corner of the house to the center of the house, resulting in a standard 2-car driveway width to be tapered at the north end to the existing
Apron.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
And any abstentions? So the motion carries, 6 votes in favor, 1 opposed, no abstentions, and we are all still present. The next application relates to 999 East Ridge Road. This, we did is it 999 or 908?
999.
That's what I thought. On my decision form, it says 908. So 999 East Ridge Road, this is the Sonic application that we heard. Oh, wait a minute. 908 is the other one. You mixed me up. They're both in the 9s. Shouldn't be able to do that. All right, I got the right one in front of me now. I think there are two variances that are requested here. The first one we will deal with is for an area variance to construct a freestanding canopy for the proposed Sonic restaurant with less than required front setback and consent to have, nope, that's the second one. So this is the canopy at the proposed Sonic restaurant in the Depot Plaza at 999 East Ridge Road. And this is a type 2 action for seeker purposes, I believe.
Well, no, it's not, Mr. Chairman, and a couple of things. Just to bring the board up to speed, so the planning board, at their meeting on April 28th, as the lead agency for seeker, planning board reviewed.
They did, oh, sorry, they did meet?
Yeah, planning board reviewed it, planning board issued a negative declaration under seeker and granted both preliminary and final site plan approval. So now, this was the application where we did a coordinated review for seeker purposes, so that's why we held the public hearing last month. Couldn't take any action because we needed the planning board to work through the seeker issue. So they have done that, so this board is free now to act on the variance request. And just one other thing, Mr. Chairman, it is only one variance. I know there's the language at the end, consent for the outdoor seating, but I think we've determined that that's not required because they're in the manufacturing district and not the C business district. So the only action here is for the variance for the setback for the location of the canopy to East Ridge Road.
All right, so we've lightened our load. All right. So we just have that. Is there anyone that wishes to make a motion with respect to this application?
I make a motion that we approve it. I just put my cheat sheet away, I did. Anyway, this is the canopy one.
This is the canopy, yes.
Right. I think we've reviewed all this in the past, and we were actually ready to vote last month, but couldn't because this other work had to be done. So I don't know if I have to go through all the findings again.
We didn't discuss anything about it last month other than do the hearing.
Oh, that was after the meeting, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, first of all, I don't believe this would change the neighborhood of the character of the neighborhood because it's in a large parking area outside a new store, and it would actually add to it, but not deter from it. There's no alternative that wouldn't require a variance because of the style of the facility that they're putting up. It's a substantial request, but it makes sense, and so the substantiality of it doesn't really get in the way of what the final situation will probably end up looking like. It'll be fine. There is no physical or environmental impact on the area. And is it self-created? Yes, but that's the nature of this business, and that's one of the reasons it's unique and why they want to do it.
I'll second.
Okay, thanks. I was done, too. That's just,
Any discussion?
I'd just like to add that it is very refreshing to have the activity going on in that whole plaza. It looks great. It's coming along great. It's the developers and the businesses going in there, hats off to them for doing a nice job and making it look nice. And I think the restaurant will look great, and I can't wait to stop by.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, 7 votes in favor, no abstentions, and the board continues to be all present. The next item then, you're welcome. Sorry to make you wait so long, but I don't set the agenda.
Have a great night.
You also. The next item then would be the application pertaining to 66 Wisner Road. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. I would make a motion to table the application based on the applicant's need to explore other alternatives that might be more feasible than what he has proposed. And by tabling it, we save him the need of submitting a new application with paying an additional fee and going through the process and having further delay.
I'll second that.
the tabling is for a month, right?
It's tabled until the applicant wishes to bring it back, but I think we will deal with it in a month to avoid running into any problem that we have deemed to have been either denied or approved, that I can't remember which it is, by not acting within a certain time.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, if I may, just really quick, after looking over the application and looking at the code, I think tabling it would be appropriate so it can give us some time to talk with the DPW to determine if a variance is even required in this instance. I know it says, consent to the board is kind of the, as the way it's phrased here and on the agenda. But there's a question as to whether or not, a variance is required. And it sounds like maybe the applicant, and based on the discussion with the board, there may be some other alternatives that he, might be considering. So we'd just like to be able to take the time between now and next meeting to talk with the town staff and, maybe the applicant as well, and, hopefully, come to a resolution.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Vote carries 7 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. We continue to be all present. The last application on our agenda tonight is the application pertaining to St. Josephat's Church and the daycare center.
Why did we,
Yes, this was, if I could just kind of refresh the board's recollection, at the meeting last month, this application had not been referred to the county planning for their recommendation which is required under General Municipal Law 239M. So what the town did was we held the public hearing and let the applicant speak, and I don't believe there was anybody else that spoke in opposition to the application. The application then got referred to Monroe County Planning. They submitted a report saying that it was a matter of local determination. They didn't have any concerns, or they didn't recommend, denial of the application. It is an application that is subject to seeker. This is the only board that has any approval here, because it is a use variance. So the town engineers have prepared a proposed Part 2 and Part 3 of the short environmental assessment form. I can give you the synopsis of it. What the town engineers have recommended for the board's consideration is that there are no significant adverse environmental impacts associated with the granting of the use variance. They note that, the existing facility was used as a school, and so in terms of traffic patterns, in terms of buses, that infrastructure is already in place. They note the proximity to East Ridge Road, and it's very, commercialized and already a well-built-out area, and they don't otherwise see any significant adverse environmental impacts with the operation of the former school as a daycare.
So then I'll make a motion that we issue a negative declaration. Is that right? All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries 7 in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. Is there a motion with respect to the application for the use variance itself? I'll make a motion. The first factor to be considered is that the applicant is unable to realize a reasonable return on the investment, given any of the uses that are allowed in the district. I believe that this is an R1 residential district, which limits the use to residential for the most part, although a firehouse or a school or a church would be allowed. This is a daycare center, which is like a step cousin of a school in my view, and so it is not very different from what is allowed, and to the average person going by or living in the neighborhood probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between what is a school and what's the daycare center the way they're planning on using it. It is a unique circumstance because it was built as a school, and it has a cafeteria and portions of the building that the church continues to wish to use in relation to its activities, and the daycare center only wishes to use that portion of the building that the church doesn't need, and other uses would have impinged on the church's ability to continue to use that portion that they desire, and they need the income from the rental of the building in order to supplement their budget, because they're not able to meet their expenses without it. And I believe that we were offered very specific financial information with respect to the financial aspect of it at the time of the hearing. There would be no change in the character of the neighborhood, because from the outside and from any passerby, other than perhaps a sign indicating that it's a daycare center as opposed to a school, no one will be able to tell the difference. And it certainly is not self-created, because I believe that at the time that it was built in conformity with the code as a school, which is allowed in an R1 district, and now because of the changes in the demographics and the closing of the school, it has created this, not any actions on the part of the applicant. And so I would also find that the applicant has proven unnecessary hardship through the application of those factors. Is there a second to that motion? Any further discussion?
I'd just like to comment that I don't really think that it's the current zoning regulations that are creating a financial hardship on the applicant. He did state that he had an offer from a school, and he just didn't want to accept it based on their own circumstances. And I'm just not going to support it for those reasons.
The only, my recollection is that that's because they don't want, if they wanted to continue to use the cafeteria and the grounds, which they use for their festival every year, and they have church activities where they use the cafeteria, the other person that wanted it would not have allowed, and that would have then required that they either find an alternative location on the property for those, which could have resulted in further. So, to my way of thinking, that's not self-created, and I'm not sure that it's not the zoning regulations that are creating the problem as much as the demographics that uses within the zoning district that, as zoned, that were previously profitable, flourishing. This isn't the first church that we've had that has needed to supplement their income. We had one further down on Ridge Road. We've had the one over on Winona, well, actually the same applicant over on Winona as here. And we've had issues with other churches on Culver Road and other places in town further on Culver Road where just because of the demographics and the reality of declining church membership, that these church buildings that have been constructed and used in these districts are not available.
Yeah, I agree. But I also think that they were able to lease to schools in the past, including the public school, and it was functioning well then. They're relying on the goodwill of their parishioners, and I think that's where they're falling short.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I think it's a good alternative for the use of the school. I understand Jason's concern, but I think ultimately to leave it empty at this point, I think it's a good alternative.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
One opposed. Any abstentions? Motion carries. 6 votes in favor, 1 opposed, no abstentions. We all continue to be present, and I believe that concludes all of the items on our agenda, and therefore, we are adjourned at 8:59.